and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce the incomparable, the amazing, the Emmy Award-winning John Fricke.
Welcome, and it is good to see all of you guys again. I know some of us have met many times in the past. Some of you, is there anybody here who's here at an Oz-Stravaganza for the first time? Really? Well, yeah, okay. Well, Emma Ridley, you were here last year. Don't give me that. And you were asked back, which is always a good sign. Yes, exactly. This is the 39th annual Oz Festival here in Chittenango, New York. They said last year was 37, and then they realized they'd done the math wrong. Last year was really 38, so this year is 39. I don't know what they're going to do for 40, but with the roster that they have put together for this year, it's going to be difficult to top. And you will see that as we go along tonight, and especially if you're here for a completely different program tomorrow night around this time. One thing I would like to say before we get into the program proper is that I realize I'm preaching to pretty many of the converted here, but if it weren't for Chittenango and native son Frank Baum, there wouldn't be a Dorothy, a Scarecrow, a Tin Man, or a lion in pop culture, or a Toto, or a Yellow Brick Road, or a Poppy Field, or an Emerald City, or a Flying Monkey, or a Wicked Witch, and that's just the first book. He did 13 others. The series was carried on until there were 40 official Oz books. We have authors here who are writing their own Oz continuations in Author's Alley. You can meet them all weekend, whether they're writing, illustrating, or both. Oz all grew from Frank Baum, who grew here. So I think it is very appropriate that this festival has not only endured, but thrived and flourished. And there is new energy virtually every 3 or 4 or 5 years. It regenerates itself, and certainly we're on a swell of that right now. And so I'm pleased that you're here to see how it has grown and how it is growing. This is the longest running Wizard of Oz festival. There was one for quite a few years in Chesterton, Indiana, but they started after this one and stopped before, obviously. There's a new one south of Chicago in Tinley Park. There's one next weekend in Judy Garland's hometown in Minnesota. There are smaller ones, usually for a one day as opposed to a full weekend, but some other full weekend ones around the country. But this is the one where they bring in people to present. It isn't just the vendors and the food and the autographs, which are wonderful, but you also get to hear a little bit of, as all of us truly converted people say, a little Hoztery. Yeah, I know. I didn't write it. Well, I did. I wrote it right here, but don't hold it against me. I think that those of you who have been around for a number of years know that one of the major attractions here, or at any Oz festival over the last 2.5 decades, 3 decades, has been the presence of Munchkins from the MGM film. There were 124 little people in that movie. One of them is left. Jerry Marin, the Lollipop Guild guy in the middle. He is in blissful retirement in Southern California. He has his cigar in one hand. They keep sending him out of assisted living to smoke it, but he's still got it. And he has enjoyed becoming, in his 96th year, Gerald Marenghi. He's not Jerry Marin anymore. He's gone back to the 18-year-old kid. I'm not saying he's mentally gone back to the 18-year-old kid. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that he is very happily retired, and he's getting to be the guy he was at 18 when MGM plucked him out of Massachusetts and took him to California for one movie, and the man never left. So we don't have Jerry with us here, but we do have our Munchkin mascot, or our good luck charm, or however you want to look at her. We're just lucky that she is willing, year after year, to come up from Pflugerville in Texas and participate. She was married to a Munchkin in the MGM film. She was almost a Munchkin herself in the MGM film, but I'm going to let her tell you about that herself. Please welcome, you talk about incomparable, you talk about astounding. Here we've got the one and only, Myrna Swenson. Myrna? And then you got the invitation the way everybody else did. Not only you, but both your parents, too, to go to Culver City at MGM in 1938. And tell them what happened.
Well, we were supposed to go, and the day before we were to leave, I came down with an emergency appendectomy, put in the hospital. There went my dreams.
You never did meet Clark Gable then?
No.
Because by the time you were recovered, you had complications too, didn't you?
Yeah, I had complications. So by the time I was able to travel, my mother contacted the movie people and they said, sorry, they couldn't use us now. They were finished.
Well,
So there went my dreams.
well, we'll see what we... But this is fun, isn't it? Oz
So
Festival?
I married Clarence instead.
All right, now let's tell them about that. Clarence Swenson, also from Texas,
Yes.
had done some of the fairs in different places, and he was one of the little people who did go to Culver City,
Yeah.
and they made him a soldier in the movie.
Yeah, he was a soldier.
And you can spot him.
Fourth row back on the camera side.
When Judy gets in the little Munchkin carriage and the horse is pulling around and the soldiers are following, doing the little goose step, the fourth row back, Clarence is the one closest to the camera on the outside.
Uh-huh.
And, but had you met him even at that point? You met him later on, right? Your parents
Well,
knew him?
my parents knew his family, but he was 9 years older than me, and you know, when you're a teenager, you're not going to look at a 5-6-year-old kid, so he didn't see me until I was graduating from high school, and because he worked in San Antonio at the Air Force Base, and he came home one weekend to see his family, and my parents and I were downtown, what they used to call window shopping. You just walk up and down the street looking in the windows and wishing. But anyway, he spotted us and started talking to my parents. And he came back to Austin every weekend after that.
But it wasn't to see your parents.
No, he come to see me.
Well, didn't you? I think you said that when you ran into him, he was coming out of a movie theater.
Yeah.
And that you were all dressed up for some kind of special occasion?
Yeah, I was in high school, and we were having a graduation ceremony at the high school, so I was all dressed up.
And he was talking to your parents, but he kind of kept looking around them.
I was standing behind my parents, and he was talking to them, and he hadn't seen me since I'd grown up. And he kept looking at me, and he came back every weekend after that.
And it worked.
Yeah.
How many years? Did you wait till after the war to get married, or were you married during the Second War? Do you remember?
43, 45.
So,
we were married.
okay. So it was right toward the tail end of the war.